You're listening to episode number 9 of Liz's Healthy Table.
Looking for a healthy new way to feed your family without the hassle and hype? Welcome to Liz's Healthy Table, where your host, registered dietitian nutritionist Liz Weiss, serves up fresh and flavorful recipes with a tasty side of science, good nutrition, and fun. Are you and your family ready for some wholesome food that tastes great too? Don't change that dial. Your food adventure starts here.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we are heading back to school with some recipe ideas to keep you, your kiddos, and your entire family well-fed and well-fueled throughout the busy day. But you know what? No need to say goodbye to summer just yet, because my guest, dietitian and mother of 2, Rebecca Scritchfield, has lots of fresh ideas for bringing sunshine and good vibes to your table and your lunch boxes. Now, here in New England, I don't want you to be too jealous, but the kids typically don't head back to school until late August or even early September. But I know for my listeners down south, I'm guessing that you're pretty much up to your elbows right now in back to school routines, which of course I know includes packing all those lunches. So Rebecca and I are here to the rescue today. My show today is sponsored by Zespri Kiwifruit. They are the global leader in premium quality kiwi fruit. Zespri Sungold Kiwifruit, I've talked about them on the show. It's a special type of kiwi fruit. It has a tropical sweet taste, a smooth, hairless skin. You can eat the skin. It's totally edible. And Sungolds, they're just not just delicious. They're so versatile. So today, Rebecca and I, she's a spokesperson, by the way, for Zespri. We're going to be sharing some recipes that you're definitely going to want to try. For starters, we've got a recipe for kiwi lime pie in a jar. This does double duty as a breakfast or a dessert. We've got strawberry kiwi basil salad. I just cooked up a recipe for Sungold flower power fruit pizzas. Rebecca has 3 really cool and easy additional snack ideas she's going to tell us about. And then this dinner, I just love this recipe. It's for panko crusted fish tacos with kiwi fruit salsa. So no need, by the way, to get out a pen and paper, because in the show notes, we're going to have all these recipes for you. We're going to be linking everywhere. So just sit back, enjoy the show. By the way, if you want more info about Zespri Kiwi, you can go to zesprikiwi.com. I also want to thank Bush's Beans. They're another show sponsor. Could not bring you the show without them. I love Bush's Beans. They're versatile. They are delicious. They are a sustainable food, right? Beans are pulses, so really good for the planet. We talked about food waste on my last episode, so that just fits right into that whole discussion. You can learn more about Bush's Beans at bushbeans.com. And finally, I'd love to thank Super Healthy Kids, my good pals online. They have a great blog, superhealthykids.com, filled with recipes that are designed for you and your family. They're healthy, colorful, delicious. They got it all. So you can visit them at superhealthykids.com. Okay, enough about the backstory. Let's go ahead and welcome Rebecca Scritchfield to today's podcast.
Hello, Liz.
Hey, Rebecca. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Rebecca, before we get started, can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself? You're a mother of 2. You have a new book that just came out. You're a registered dietitian nutritionist, just like me, but just give everybody a little bit of info about yourself.
Sure. So yes, besides all those wonderful things you just said, my girls are 3 and turning 5. So we are in preschool stages, but I also have nieces and nephews up to 11. So I've dealt with in my own family and also in working with clients in my DC-based practice, all different types of palates and food preferences. So I love to eat myself. So I love helping people kind of solve those challenges to eating well and enjoying food. So I like to say that I am a person who likes to help people find joy in cooking and in eating a wide variety of foods. And personally, what I enjoy is when I can combine a recipe with my kids in the kitchen. So even though it gets messier at their ages, it is an activity that I know is making a difference in their life because we get to talk about the joys of eating and good nourishment. And I just feel that it's a much more fun approach to help people find pleasure.
Okay. I was going to ask you about your food and nutrition philosophy, but I think you kind of just shared it with me. You're reading my mind. Hey, tell everybody the name of your book, Rebecca.
Sure. So it's called Body Kindness, and it's really a book about how to create a better life through choices that fit your individual interests and preferences best. So not only do I talk about food and nutrition, but we get into topics like sleep and exercise. And I even have some of my favorite tools that I've used with clients for goal setting. So it kind of helps you think about changes you want to make in your life and taking a positive approach.
Fantastic. So, and people can check you out and the book out. What's your website?
It's bodykindnessbook.com.
Okay. And your website is beautiful. And you also have a podcast.
Yes. So I'm not as experienced as you in the podcast realm, but I have been podcasting in January, it will be 2 years that I would have been podcasting, but it's just called Body Kindness. And similar to the philosophy of the book, I really try to bring guests on who can talk about their approaches to living a balanced and positive life. And I also like to talk about the things that end up influencing our choices. So I've had guests on to talk about different cultural factors that play into the opportunities we have to, make better choices with our eating patterns or exercise patterns. So I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. So when it comes to back to school, because this is a time of year when people start to get a little more serious about food because they're not at the beach all summer. They're back into their routines. We've got to get the kiddos fed before they head off to school. We got to pack lunches. We need a healthy dinner to keep everybody fueled so they can do homework if they're old enough where they have homework. I am actually not a believer in a lot of homework, but that's a topic for another show, probably a different podcast. But
I'd like to be your kid.
Oh, well, it's not like I said you can't do your homework. It was like you got too much homework and I feel bad for you and I'm going to call the school and give them a piece of my mind kind of situation. But anyway, I've got Josh who graduated college. I have Simon who graduated high school. So we're sort of moving beyond homework. But anyway, so people are really thinking a lot more about feeding their families this time of year because they are back in routines. Do you have sort of a secret weapon when it comes to meal planning and especially packing those lunches?
Yeah. So, I think that something that can save a lot of our sanity points is to keep things really simple. So, for example, there are lots of ways where you can get help from the grocery store through products that just save a lot of time. So, canned beans being one of those examples. So you mentioned Bush's being a sponsor. That is something that can be a time saver and offer good nutrition. And then, of course, Zespri Kiwifruit, who I'm very happy to be working with, it is so simple to buy the fruit. It's available now in a clamshell and just toss it in the lunchbox. So these very simple ideas for bringing meals together and not worrying about making a Pinterest perfect recipe every single time. Simple ingredients that people enjoy the taste of. So when you're looking at your kids' preferences, starting with things that they enjoy eating, but then also giving them a chance to experience a new taste and flavor, without it being something that's so foreign to them that you're going to get an automatic thumbs down, no rejection. So yeah, those are just some of the things that I think help.
And I would agree with you on sort of that simple foods that your kids are going to love. It's the way I look at the Sungolds, it's sort of a gateway to other healthy foods because you can slice a Sungold in half. I do this for Simon. He's 18. I give him a spoon and he scoops it out. But if you've got little ones at your table, you could put out some cheese and crackers with that, or maybe a cheese they've never tried before. Maybe it's got a more intense flavor, but because they're eating something they love, now they're willing to maybe try what's sitting next to it.
Yeah. And, I think that is important. And also to realize, like, I like how you mentioned just putting some cheese and crackers next to it, because you really can pair up foods, even if it doesn't sound like they go together. So we often, at least say once a week, would do a family pizza night, right? And while I love taking the time where we each get to create our own pizzas and all that, that's not the option. We are literally buying it made from the store, or we're going to call and order. But what we've done in our house is, instead of saying, okay, that's it, that's all we're going to have is pizza, right? Just think of any fruit that we could add to that. And so having the fruit bowl out with in season, delicious fruit options allows your family to just reach and grab a piece of fruit that it's going to be part of the pizza meal. And the same thing with veggies too. I mean, I know it's the logical answer is like pizza and throw in a side salad, but what if you're short on time to prep the salad? Or what if you're bored with the salad, or you don't have all the salad ingredients? You could pull out baby carrots. You could pull out a red pepper and cut it up. That any effort you can make to give the family an opportunity to balance the plate is a worthwhile effort. And I like to kind of boost people's confidence that, there is no such thing as a small effort, but it's more about consistency and how your mind works. Oh, what's a vegetable we can add? What's a fruit we can add?
Right. And even for parents who feel like their kids do not like vegetables, I always say, you know what, put it out there anyway, and then go a little heavier on the fruit, because the nutrients you fear you're missing out of, you can get from a variety of fruit. Keep it colorful, right? Mm-hmm. Which leads me to ask you about these Sungolds. So Sungolds are not green, they're gold. Tell us about their nutrition. I mean, which nutrients are they high in? Are they similar to the green kiwis? Just give us a little bit of info on that.
Sure. Well, with my kids being younger, when I was introducing the yellow Sungolds, I said, OMG, there's a yellow kiwi, so even introducing it, like my kids, they use OMG and they know what it means. And so we kind of used a rhyme as a way to introduce it. And we would talk about the different color on the inside. Some other things that I find interesting about it is that in America, when we're used to a green kiwi fruit, we're used to skin that is fuzzy or looks like there's hairs on it. And the Sungold is actually smooth and hairless. So it is very different. Even just when you look at it, the skin's going to be a lighter color on the outside, and you won't feel that fuzziness that you would typically feel on the outside of a kiwi fruit. Nutrition wise, they really are a powerhouse of nutrition. One of my favorite things about the Sungold is the vitamin C content. And it's got the vitamin C of 3 oranges in just one serving of Sungold kiwi fruit. And that's just amazing, especially, as we know, but as a reminder for all the back to school and the thoughts of germs and not wanting your kids to get sick, vitamin C helps to support a healthy immune system. And so making sure we get enough vitamin C can help our bodies fight just the natural bugs that come around that could give us a common cold. And so when we can, very easily pick a fruit to toss in the lunchbox or to have as part of that after school snack and feel good that we're giving them a good boost of nutrition, we kind of have ourselves a win-win situation.
What about things like fiber? And also, is the serving 2 Sungolds?
Yes. So when you hold the Sungolds in your hand, I like to tell people to visualize another piece of fruit like a banana. So if you were to kind of place one Sungold on top of the other, it would feel like the size of a banana. They're smaller than an apple. They're smaller than an orange. So the right serving size is 2 in that portion. And most people, when they cut and scoop out the first one, it is almost effortless to take the second one because they're that good. But yeah, they are a good source of fiber. And if you eat the skin, which you can do, it would just be kind of like eating the skin of any other fruit, like a grape or an apple, you do get more fiber there. So that's kind of a nice bonus to have as well. Also, when you eat the inside, the fleshy part, you'll get fiber in the flesh. And what's interesting about this is that they do a lot of research studies on kiwi fruit. And what they're finding is that the fibers act a bit differently than some of the fibers in other fruits. And part of what the fibers do here is they help create kind of typical bowel movements, for lack of a better word.
Well, thank you for sharing.
And who had, just a few minutes before I bring up go in the bathroom. But, as a parent, that's kind of all part of what we pay attention to for our kids. And so you can really feel good knowing that the unique way that their fibers act really help, for comfortable digestion and help keep y'all regular.
Well, it's an important topic because I think, and I don't quote me on this, but I think constipation is like the number 2 reason kids go to the doctor. I mean, they are uncomfortable. And same for adults. The more fiber we can consume, because most Americans get nowhere near enough fiber. Mm-hmm. So I like that serving provides a good source of fiber. And I'd say eat the skin. Whenever I eat the Sungolds, I eat the skin. So yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to even slice in half and take on the road. It's sort of a good grab and go because you can't eat it like a peach.
Yep.
Because it's just soft and super juicy.
Mm-hmm.
Yum, love it. So, and I had said at the top of the show that you were going to bring sunshine and good vibes to our table, Rebecca, because I do think that when we think about back to school, we think drudgery, and it gets kind of, we get in this sort of negative mindset of, oh my gosh, now I have to go back to packing lunches again. So, like you said, keep it simple, keep it positive, and make it fun. I know in some cultures, we were talking about cultures before, but in some cultures, like in Japan, they spend a lot of time doing the bento boxes and making these very elaborate lunches. Oh my gosh, I don't think I could do that. They are really beautiful, I will say, but I couldn't. I don't think I can do that. Although I will say that the recipe I created for Sungold Flower Power Fruit pizzas is as close to Pinterest worthy as I will ever get. And I just want to share this recipe. And it's so easy and this is a snack or it could be for breakfast, but you just take an English muffin, whole wheat, hello, of course, or whole grain, and you slice it in half and toast it. And then you take goat cheese, or if you're not a goat cheese fan, you can use cream cheese, but I use 3 tablespoons of goat cheese. And then I mix it with a teaspoon of honey and a sprinkle of cinnamon. And then I spread that over both of the halves. And so it's just the topping, right? It looks like cream cheese, but it's goat cheese. And then I take a Sungold and I slice it thin into rounds. And then some of those rounds I cut again into sort of half moons. And then I use the Sungolds with other fruit. So you can use strawberries that you slice. You can use blueberries, raspberries, orange sections, and then arrange the fruit around each English muffin half to look like a flower. So the Sungold is going to be the center, the round part in the middle. Those halves are going to be kind of some of the petals coming off of it. And then just have some fun. And you could set out different bowls with different fruit and let your kids decorate their own pizzas. You can use almond butter if you want, like a little more protein. Shake it up a little bit. So it can be a work of art or not, but I love them. And they're super yummy and juicy and really pretty. So that's my Pinterest share for the day.
It sounds like, just hearing you describe it, I could paint the picture of what it looks like in my head. And it sounds beautiful to look at and delicious to eat. So, and kind of coming back to our little joke about Pinterest worthy, you can take it from both sides, right? Like, there may be times where you thoroughly enjoy trying to come up with a Pinterest worthy creation, and you've seen those sort of nailed it photos where it's like a Pinterest fail.
Yes.
And so that's where I think it is it's, if you think you'd enjoy trying that Pinterest project, do it, because that's part of, having a good life of, so it's less about this is what I have to do in order for my kid to get A's in school this, school year, and more like, oh, let's have fun with this, and then to also be able to laugh and see the humor in life if your plans didn't come out as you'd wanted, so I really think that is a really valuable way to look at it, is that you make choices for things that might sound fun to try. And also, and I mean, this as with being a recipe developer, that if you're in the home and you try someone's recipe and there are parts you liked or parts you didn't like, don't be afraid to change it up a bit or think about how you might like like it better and offer up your own tweaks that even if you don't have to be a chef to kind of apply some of your own preferences and creativity to a recipe.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And I always tell people too, if you see a recipe on Liz's Healthy Table and you think, I really love that, but I don't really want to use barley. I'd rather use quinoa. Like, go for it. You know, there's no rules when it comes to recipes. Use it as a template. Hey, you told me before we started our interview today that you had some other fun snack ideas. You did something with a boat, with a kiwi boat.
Yes. So these are all sort of my hanging on to summer theme and also trying to find fun activities to do with my kids that don't involve Play-Doh because that's just a giant mess and is ruining my carpet. So we've been playing a lot with food. And so we came up with a few different fun snack ideas that I think are a great thing that you could do with kids and then just experiment in the kitchen. So one of them is a kiwi boat. And essentially what I do there is I actually slice the kiwi fruit lengthwise so it kind of makes the long side of a boat. And then I just take cheese, and I used yellow cheddar cheese, and I cut them into 2 triangles of different sizes to make the sails. I just put a toothpick into the bottom of the cheese and put that right into the kiwi fruit. And it's literally that simple. Lo and behold, they look like these little sailboats that the kids just really love to make and then eat. So
I love that. Of course, you know, I have 2 boys, and when they were younger, I had this like aversion to toothpicks because I'm like, all right, what can be turned into a weapon? Toothpicks.
Yeah, especially it's like if, you know, my girls are only 19 months apart, so they really get into egging each other on, you know, so I could see we'd all have to be in a happy place working on it together to avoid any scratches or anything.
Sibling rivalry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I came up with a couple other ideas too that were sort of in the summer theme. And one I just love because my kids love chocolate and I don't blame them. I swear I had chocolate every day of both of my pregnancies, but it is something, you know, that I look to kind of find tasty ways to help, you know, include it as part of our balanced eating. And kiwi fruit Sungolds go so good with chocolate. So this is a really simple snack, and it's called the Sungold Berry Treasure. And all I do here is cut the kiwi fruit in half and I scoop out the flesh, and then I chop that up into pieces that looks like chunks of gold. And then in the bottom, I hide somewhere between 10 and 15 chocolate chips, or you could use something like M&Ms or whatever your favorite candies that you have around, and put them in the bottom as the berry treasure. And then you top it off with the Sungolds from that half. And then you put it out there as a snack, and they have fun, you know, picking out the pieces, looking for the berry treasure, and eating pieces of the Sungold with pieces of the chocolate.
Cute. Very cute. Do you use mini chips or regular chips?
You know, I used regular chips, but I think that mini chips would give the idea of a lot more treasure. So if you can find those, I would definitely encourage using those.
Cute. Very cute. And what's your other idea?
So the other one is actually a little bit along the lines of where you talked about the sunflower fruit pizzas. So, but this is just a Sungold sunflower snack. And what I did is I cut the fruit in half and then actually cut off the bottom edge of it too. I didn't want to remove much of the skin, but this allowed me to lay it flat on the plate. And then what I did with the other half is I just cut it. I made an X and then a horizontal line. So it made 6 pieces. And those became the petals. And then for my stalk and leaves, I used 1 celery stalk with the ends cut off and rinsed and cut in half and then in 1/3. And then for the roots, I used some melted peanut butter. And speaking of the Pinterest fail, my roots, they kind of came out, but I do believe that the peanut butter is good with the celery, and it's good with the Sungolds too. I found that melting the peanut butter for about 30 seconds in the microwave made it easier to work with. And I used a fork so that I could kind of drizzle out roots and have a little bit more control over the way it came out. But
very cute. Yeah. And was this just you just put it on a plate? Like
yep, just put on a plate. Yep. And I actually have a set of summery blue plates in the house. And what I liked about those is that with the kiwi boat, it kind of looked like it was sailing on the ocean. And, you know, again, you know, if you want to have some fun with younger kids, these kind of little touches matter. And then with the berry treasure, I actually put some Cheerios like to look like the sand. And then I made a sun out of baby carrots kind of cut into thirds, and the center of the sun was a circle piece of cheese.
You are having fun. Having fun with food. I love it. So because I promised this at the top of the show, this is a recipe that I found on the Zespri Kiwifruit website, and it's for kiwi lime pie in a jar. And basically, you need a food processor, and in that food processor, you combine together a cup of plain Greek yogurt and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon of lime zest, and then 3 tablespoons of lime juice, and 2.5 tablespoons of honey. This is a surprise, half of a large avocado, and 2 Sungold Kiwifruit peeled. So you combine all of that until smooth, and then in a large jar, like a mason jar, or 2 smaller jars, if you've got little kids, this would make 2, you sprinkle graham cracker crumbs. So just a cup of graham cracker crumbs. You could crumb them yourself. You could buy them already crumbed up, and sprinkle that at the bottom to coat the bottom, and then top with 1/3 of the yogurt mixture, and then just repeat with 2 more layers of the graham crackers and then the rest of the yogurt mixture. And then you refrigerate until you're ready to eat. And that just sounds so good. It's kind of like this yogurty, limey, yum. I love this. It kind of reminds me of a smoothie bowl recipe that I made once with avocado, but I did not add the Sungolds, and I love that combination. Yum. And you could totally do this for breakfast.
Yeah.
You could do this for dessert. It's just got a little bit of honey. And so there's really not a lot of sugar added, right? It's just mostly naturally sweet. Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, I know. And, again, I love the idea when you mentioned this is a surprise. I think when we can get surprised in the kitchen and try something new, that brings about our flexibility and creativity and confidence around food. So as I was listening to the ingredients, I'm thinking about key lime pie. I'm thinking about what would go in it and how it would taste. And so the avocado also was surprising to me. But when I think about that and Sungolds, I'm thinking about that combination of a half of avocado and Sungold would really combine well for the texture that you would usually be getting in a key lime pie. And then, of course, the flavors of the lime that you would expect. And yeah, that sounds like something else that would just be, it could be a way to introduce your kids to avocados if they're not yet into avocados, or just another way of using up avocados that you have on hand. Because I got to imagine that, you would want one that is ripe and ready to use. Mm-hmm. And certainly, I think adults too, it's important for us to get together with other folks, and whether it's a potluck or a last summer barbecue. And I always find that when I put a little effort into something different, that's not just, oh, here's the brownies from the grocery store, that everybody appreciates it. And then I feel good that they appreciate an effort that I made. So, doing those things like that really help to boost everybody's mood. And, you can introduce your friends to a new type of fruit that they could then look for in the grocery store. And next thing you know, you're like the foodie in the group.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what you could do with that jar dessert / breakfast is you could take another Sungold and then either slice it into rounds or dice it, and then kind of incorporate that. I'd say the diced would be nice in the layers. And it sort of depends too. Like some people love a lot of texture. Other people like everything kind of smooth and creamy. So it really depends. But there's something about eating out of a jar that I personally love. And I think kids really like it too, because it's a change of scenery, right? It's like, ooh, this is kind of different. Yeah. So I love that recipe. And I also, on the website, love this recipe for strawberry kiwi basil salad, which I thought of as something that would be kind of fun for a lunchbox. And again, it depends on your kids' ages. Do they like taking salads or don't they? And so this recipe, you'll need 1 Sungold kiwi fruit peeled and sliced, and then 1 or 2 handfuls of strawberries sliced thin, a handful of fresh basil leaves. I happen to be growing them in my garden. I have 2 little pots outside with herbs, which are still alive. Thank you. The juice of a lime. We've got a lot of lime here. Juice of a lime. 2 tablespoons of goat cheese. A goat cheese theme here. You could use feta cheese if your kids don't love goat cheese. And then honey for drizzling. And basically you just combine the kiwi fruit, strawberries, basil in a bowl, then drizzle with the lime juice and stir till everything's combined, and then top with the goat cheese or feta, whatever you love, and then a drizzle of honey. And I think that would be really nice and different and fresh in a lunchbox. You could even add maybe a little bit of leftover grilled chicken or something. If you want to add a little more protein.
Yeah. Or I like to add tuna. And I have upgraded my tuna game to get the tuna that's in a jar in olive oil. And I think we're starting to see, in other countries, they have tuna in a tin in olive oil. But certainly me doing the tuna fillets that are already packed in olive oil has been a huge time saver and has been easy to add to any other fruit and vegetable and grain base type of a recipe. And again, I bring it back to easy and effortless because you really can get a sense of ease and convenience and delicious taste too. It is possible. I think it starts with starting with quality foods and ingredients and then layering them together in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping it simple. Hey, for that basil salad, I also would like a little bit of fresh mint. So again, see, now we're tweaking, right? This is what we're supposed to do. You could do basil and mint. You could add parsley, cilantro if you're a cilantro lover.
That's making me think of tabbouleh, and I love the taste of tabbouleh and now how you can get like a sweetness there with the Sungolds. That would be nice.
That would be nice. I have on my website a tabbouleh with the works recipe. Thank you for reminding me. And it calls for tomatoes, like little grape tomatoes diced or sliced in half. Now, I have two boys who will eat tomatoes till the cows come home when it's on a BLT. But in the tabbouleh, they would be more likely to eat a Sungold that's been diced versus a tomato.
So there's your sub right there.
Yeah, there's my tweak. Thank you. Now I'm tweaking my own recipes. Final recipe that I promised to share at the beginning, which was this panko crusted fish tacos with kiwi fruit salsa. And I will say that, you always hear this recommendation to eat 2 seafood meals a week. You've already given us the tuna idea. Thank you. And it is hard for families to think up different ways to get seafood. And I do think there's a nice pairing between Sungolds and seafood. Seems to be like a nice combo.
Definitely.
So for this recipe, there's sort of 3 parts. The first is a salsa, and that's made with 2 Sungolds peeled and diced, 1 nectarine or peach, and I will say the peaches have been fantastic this year, 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro. If you don't love it, leave it out because we know it's one of those love-hate foods, and 3 tablespoons of chopped green onion, aka scallion, and 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Lime juice is the winner today. And then, so that's your salsa. And you just combine all those ingredients in a bowl, set it aside. And then for the fish, you will preheat your oven to 425. You're going to take an egg, just crack it into a shallow bowl and just beat it lightly. And then you're going to take 1.5 pounds of cod or any whitefish, cut into 2 to 3 inch by 1 inch pieces. So kind of like a fish stick shape. So you're going to coat the cod or your whitefish in the egg. And then for your breadcrumb coating, you've got a cup of whole wheat panko breadcrumbs. And you can find that at the supermarket. And, we love whole grains, so go for the whole wheat panko. Kosher salt, garlic powder, a little bit of coriander. If you don't have it, again, don't worry about it. I would say leave it out. Don't stress. And then, you combine those breadcrumbs in a resealable gallon-sized plastic bag. This is so easy. You could use a bowl as well. But then you add the fish to the bag and then you seal it and then you shake it up. So it's going to coat the fish evenly and your fingers aren't going to get completely messy. And then just place the panko crusted fish on a baking sheet. And you could spray the baking sheet first with a little bit of cooking spray. And then you could actually spray the tops of the fish with a little cooking spray. And then just bake it about 12 minutes. I mean, you'll be surprised how quickly the fish cooks. It's going to brown and you're done. And then to serve, you just serve it with corn tortillas. You could chop up a little bit of romaine lettuce. You can add that to your fish tacos. You got your fish, your salsa, a little bit of chopped up romaine. You could add hot sauce. You could add salsa. You could add a little bit of barbecue sauce, whatever floats your boat. So I love that recipe because it's a great way to get more seafood into the diet. And then it pairs up with this nice, refreshing fruit salsa.
One of my favorite ways to enjoy Sungolds, besides on its own entirely, because it's amazing and certainly the easiest, but one of my second favorite way is to make it into a fruit salsa. And it gets my kids eating much more fish which just feels good in the summertime. It's, it's light, it's tasty and refreshing. And that is, when you were describing the recipe, that's a fun one to do with kids, even if it gets messy. It's all part of the experience,
I knew you were going to say that.
But yeah, that is, one of the things that I love about Sungolds that really stands out is the quality of the fruit, specifically through the Zespri growing process. They will only pick their fruit when it's a certain amount of sweetness. And for growers, it's something called the bricks, and it has to do with their sugar content. And so they will make sure that the quality is to the highest standard by waiting for that perfect amount of ripeness. And then it will get to you ready to use and to incorporate in all the ways we've discussed today, but especially I think the listeners should try this fruit salsa recipe with the fish, because I've had it with my family before. It's dynamite. And you'll really notice that sweetness and that difference come through where you don't need to add a lot of extra stuff because the quality of the fruit stands on its own.
Hey, Rebecca, have you been to New Zealand? Have you seen where this fruit grows? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was so lucky a couple of years ago to have the chance to travel to New Zealand because there was a international conference on kiwi fruit health and nutrition. And I learned some of the latest research that is available about the benefits of kiwi fruit. And one of our excursions was visiting a grower and to learn all about the process. And what's interesting is it grows on vines. So it literally looks like you're under this kiwi fruit canopy. Most people have to kind of duck down a little bit to kind of walk underneath. And what they do when they grow is they make sure to get the highest quality fruits. There'll be all kinds of flowers, but each flower would turn into a kiwi fruit. And if they allow too many flowers to thrive, then the quality of the kiwi fruit goes down. So they actually watch the process. They'll pick some of the flowers to allow for adequate spacing, but when you're looking at it, it's kind of like imagining grapes growing, but imagining that's an overhead canopy. And then instead of the size of one grape, you're talking about the size of a kiwi fruit, which is a little bit smaller than your fist size. But it's really interesting to see how it grows and really to observe, for me, to get to observe all the care the growers put into their product. And they've been growing kiwi fruit since the early 1900s. So they really mastered the art of growing a perfect fruit for us.
So is it hand-picked?
Yes. So when it's ready to harvest, they will go out into the kiwi fruit orchards and they carefully pick the kiwi fruit and move it then to the next stage of getting it to us, which is, they make sure to test samples to make sure that it's ready. And then once they pick and move it from the orchard, then they're going to get it to the containers where they're going to be able to ship them and then get them by the time we get them in the store. It's going to be packaged and then shipped and available. Mostly what you will see available now is their packaging in a clamshell, which usually comes to 4 to 6 kiwi fruit, depending on their size. And I love this because the container is really easy to open. It's easy to store in the fridge around your other produce as well. And you'll also notice that the packaging does have the non-GMO project label. And that's something that, for people who are paying attention to that, sometimes, you look at a new variety and you wonder, well, how did they get this variety? And so the Sungold, like how we got to yellow, it was developed through a natural crossbreeding that takes place from just different varieties of kiwi fruit.
Got it. And you said store in the refrigerator.
Oh, I'm glad you picked up on that. So what I typically do is when I get it from the store, I will take a couple pieces out and put them on my fruit bowl out on the counter. I love keeping a fruit bowl that sort of, visually it kind of serves as an art piece, a centerpiece, and an easily accessible snack anytime, anywhere. So I'll pick a few pieces and add that to my fruit bowl. And then I'll put the rest in the refrigerator, really just to kind of, extend their length. But, they could last up to about 2 weeks of high quality in the refrigerator if you can get them to last that long, because you're going to get fights in the house once you start buying these.
You got that right. And, I did have the other day one that I thought was a little, to me, too ripe because I kept it on the counter or I put it in the fridge. I can't quite remember, but I sliced it up and I added it to my bag in the freezer of fruit that I add to smoothies. And so again, because food waste was my last show, it's one of these things where anything that you feel is like really ripe and I don't know if I want to eat this, it's going to be great in a smoothie or a pudding, or even that recipe we just shared with the pie in the jar. So the freezer is your friend.
Yes. Another one to think about is as a marinade. So there's something called actinidin in kiwi fruit, which is a natural meat tenderizer, and it will help you digest the protein in the foods that you eat. And it will also help to flavor the meat and also help tenderize it before you cook.
Good. Oh, you're so full of all these fun facts. Thank you very much. Hey, Rebecca, something I love to ask all my guests on my show, and that is 2 questions. If you could pick one cookbook off your bookshelf that you would recommend to families out there who are trying to eat a healthy diet or trying to pack healthy lunches or get back in the routine, what would that cookbook be?
Well, it's going to be So Easy by Ellie Krieger, our fellow registered dietitian. I love all of her cookbooks, but when this one came out, I believe every recipe has 5 ingredients or fewer, and that was just sealed the deal for me. So I highly recommend all of her cookbooks. I know one of her most recent ones, You Have It Made, is about kind of prepping ahead with freezer meals so that your weeknights can be a lot more smooth too. But I love reading the So Easy cookbook because it had my criteria for overly simple, but still deliver on taste, quality, and nutrition.
Good. Yeah. She has so many cookbooks. And so it's so easy then.
Yes.
Okay. And then maybe this is the same question, but is there a chef or a cookbook author out there who's kind of, I always say your chef crush, somebody that you really admire that you would love to, you're walking down the street, you bump into them. Who do you want to meet? Who's your chef crush?
I don't know if this would be surprising or not, but I would love to meet and cook with Rachel Ray just because I love the made up word, EVOO. She just has this humor and I think it was called a garbage bowl that she would have it just really resonated with me in a way of, no, I didn't go to culinary school, but that doesn't mean I can't learn skills. And so I would love to just hang out with her, cook, kind of see what made up words she could use that would probably make me laugh. And I'm big on that sort of easy breezy and let's not take ourselves too seriously type of cooking.
She definitely is silly. She is Miss Personality. Good stuff. So anything else you want to share before we wrap it up today?
Well, I would just say that, really just as a reminder to the listeners to, just enjoy life, right? And that it's all about the journey and the process, and that, yes, it is a transition getting back to school, and there's going to be some stressful moments, but that stress is really just energy and a sign that, it's time to move on from our lazy, enjoyable days of summer and kind of get refocused, and, that there are good things about transitioning and back to school as well. And so just approach it with an open mind and give yourself a break. Don't worry about getting it all too perfect, but definitely make an effort to make positive and healthy choices that your whole family will benefit from.
Fantastic. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm really excited to try all of these recipes, and that pie in the jar, now I'm dreaming about it. So that's something I just might head out to the grocery store right now. A friendly reminder to everyone that for the show notes from today's episode, please head on over to Liz's Healthy Table. Visit the podcast page and you'll find the show notes. While you're there, you can look in the right sidebar for a little box that will take you over to Facebook to my Podcast Posse Facebook group. Anybody can join. All you do is click the join button. So I'd love to have you join the posse. The recipe that I talked about, the flour pizzas on English muffins, you'll find that on the blog. You can follow me on social media. I'm here for you. Any question you have about feeding your family, about good nutrition, ask away. Send me an email. Visit me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Pinterest. And until next time, have a great back to school couple of weeks, everybody, and thanks for listening to Liz's Healthy Table.